Look, it's down there at the fucking bottom. There's still this big of a fucking difference. Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. So look at this. Maybe that's a problem with the game. God damn. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Deader than my dog. Why is this happening? It just, I don't understand.
Welcome back. It's time for what's fast becoming a tradition here.
We have not watched a Bellular video in like a month. It's time.
Publicly available data to perform World of Warcraft's health checkup. This time around, things are actually quite funky given the unusual raid format of 9.2, but the numbers absolutely are interesting. Now, when we last left off in this, it had become apparent that 9.1 had a massive drop-off in players. That, of course, means that 9.2's job is to retain people and hopefully bring more players back.
Yeah.
Numbers tend to decrease as expansions go on. They always
That's how
have.
things
There's
go.
some attrition. So a flat line or even a minor decrease would be a win for 9.2. So, did it win? Well, it and you can win harder with squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming, today's sponsor, because they help you win in the web.
Coming out swinging
they ran two
right
of our
off the
sites,
bat.
one that's hired key staff, and of course, most recently, our Game Studio site for the Pale Beyond. Now, with their easy-to-use site builder and award-winning templates,
Bro, I really wish this shit was around whenever I was a kid. I remember I like designed my own website and everything whenever I was like 8 or 9 years old. But, like, the technology wasn't there for me to be able to code it that was accessible to me back then. My mom wouldn't let me play Pokemon in church. So what I did in church is I started working on, like, developing a website. Like, that's all I did. Like, that's all I would do in church.
To make it so easy to do all this. I mean, we've even got things like
I
mailing lists built in,
too.
which is just such a handy time saver.
That wasn't until like a couple years
later. Now, we've got a reveal
later.
coming up in May, and for that, I've been working on a few private pages, and doing what I've needed to do has been so easy with the various different pre-made blocks. And soon enough, I'm actually going to have it hooked up to a fulfillment center so we can run our own merchandise. They seriously have e-commerce features down so well. It's a joy to use, and the large
I know this might not be appealing to a lot of people, but like having e-commerce stuff like that on a website that actually works properly is pretty rare.
Amounts of time that I save go straight back into making things, like the video you're watching right now. Squarespace is the fast and easy way to have a fantastic web presence, and having that is important. It's going to be people's first impression of you online, so you gotta make it count. And to do so, head to squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming with the code Bellular Gaming, and that will get you 10% off. So thank you, Squarespace, and let's dive into some of these Warcraft numbers.
All right, let's see it. Week 4 stats.
Raid time. Okay, first off, let's do normal mode and boss guild kills in the first 4 weeks of the tier.
Okay.
On the face of it, this looks horrid for 9.2, but you must remember that Zovaal was only available on week 4 of the patch, whereas Sylvanas and Denathrius were available from week 2.
Oh my god, so that many people dropped off?
What we can do, though, is further dive into this data by comparing some first versus last boss kills and a few other things. So for Nathria and Sanctum, 61.44% of guilds cleared the last boss within the first 4 weeks of the patch, whereas only 26 did for Sepulchre. Taking a look at the other numbers, we see a 71% 26 with...
Holy shit! God damn! Oh, wow, wow, wow. Deader than my dog. Jesus Christ. No, dog shit rewards, nobody wants to do it? Well, yeah, they had the same problem with Blackhand back in WoD, and they gave him a token you could turn in for any tier item. That's how they solved it there. It was a better idea.
Within the first 4 weeks of the patch, whereas only 26 did for Sepulchre.
Oh my god.
Taking a look at the other numbers, we see a 71% decrease in the number of guilds that defeated normal Jailer compared to normal Sylvanas within the first month. And that
71% decrease? Jeez, it's a new low. That is incredible. Like, that's crazy. It's so funny for me to see this and then see these fucking professional WoW players talk about how great the raid is. Oh, wow, this is one of the best raids Blizzard's ever made. Blizzard's really knocked it out of the park with this raid. Apparently fucking not. Apparently fucking not. And that's just normal. And I'm sure he's going to go through Heroic too.
That actually comes after
The 350% one is Castle Nathria from Nilotha. The reason why Nilotha was so high is because people kept buying boosts. And Castle Nathria was a very high increase because of that. And also it's at the beginning of the expansion, which is going to have a large surge of players. A lot of people came back to play Shadowlands. That's why it happened.
Huge decrease of 50% in the number of guilds that defeated Sylvanas normal compared to Denathrius normal in that time period. Now, if reflective
even
of
Sylvanas
the player base,
was terrible.
This is a bloody disastrous trend.
Yeah.
But we've got to dive into what produced these numbers, the structure of the raid, and the incentives of the game.
Okay.
This number would always have been smaller because progress on Zovaal was delayed by a week, because of the narrative decision to delay the last 3 bosses. That said, normal participation should be quite high this time around because loads of players are going into normal to get tier gear.
Exactly, yeah.
Which doesn't drop from Zovaal, further weakening the importance of this dataset.
Yeah.
Indeed, week 5 of Shadowlands saw double legendaries.
Good game.
Of course, that also likely coincided, as it did with me, with more players getting their 2 or 4 piece of tier and a whole bunch of nerfs to normal.
I don't have any tier.
So as you can see, there's a lot going against Zovaal guild kills within the first 4 weeks of the patch.
Shouldn't you want people to go and kill the boss on normal and mythic and heroic and stuff like that? I don't know. I feel like that's so bad. That's so bad. Like, why? Like, what is this? Like, the casuals have left. The casuals didn't the casuals didn't leave. They got pushed out. They're getting pushed out. This is what's happened so many times, is that, like, basically what they do is they keep making the game and designing the game for these super hardcore players. That's always been the focus. It's too much, man.
And perhaps even this data set can inform us as to why Blizzard nerfed Zovaal, nerfed like the raid as heavy as they did, right? Maybe they saw these low numbers and thought, you know what, double Legos ain't enough. We need to nerf it a bit more. Maybe that's the case.
Which is a good idea. They should have nerfed it a bit more. Like, that was smart. It was smart of them to nerf it because you can't use... This is the problem. Is like WoW players are so bad at this. They use mythic level players as a frame of reference for how good or bad content is. It's like, well, mythic guilds, they cleared this very fast, so the content's not good. It's just so stupid. And like, I don't understand why this keeps happening.
Hell, I mean, while this wouldn't be a problem to heroic or mythic guilds, I think it is also true that Sepulchre was just tuned to be harder than normal Sanctum, and that would slow down normal mode guilds.
True.
Again, hence the nerfs. Now, what about the heroic numbers for this time period?
Okay.
Well, this is where we continue to see interesting data. Recently, the percentage of heroic guilds that get ahead of the curve within the first month has been decreasing. In Legion, that number was 28.82%. In BFA, 24.86%. So, getting a bit lower in BFA, but not a disaster. In Shadowlands, it's a mere 10.53%. With
oh my god, bro. Like, this is just... You know what another factor for this is? It's that everybody on Alliance is fucked. So, like, it's not only is it harder, but also you're playing on a faction that's basically a handicap. Like, the faction itself is a fucking handicap. Why is this so surprising? The game lost a ton of players last year? Well, because... No, you're misunderstanding. This is a percentage-based thing. Well, actually, no, this isn't. But, like, I guess this percentage is there. So what I'm talking about is, like, the percentage and, like, how much lower it's going overall is also even worse, too. It's bad from a per capita basis, I guess you could say, and it's also bad at a macro level, too. Like, both of them are bad.
Only 4% of heroic guilds managing to defeat Zovaal within the first 4 weeks.
I love graphs.
Now, if you remove Zovaal from the Shadowlands average and recalculate the number would actually be 13.72%. that is still just under half of the
Well, it's
number.
because Sylvanas fight sucked. I don't want to do that fight. It sucks. Like I remember, like, it's a shit fight. That's all there is. So it's a shit fight.
Of BFA, and that's just
Denathrius
really
was cool.
low. I mean, if I think about this, you could say
I don't want to
Stone
stop
Legion
damage.
Generals
Never
was
stop
a bit of a
damage.
roadblock boss, and you know, plenty of us did report, oh, Castle Nathria, this is a pretty fun raid. It's also kind of hard. For Sanctum, I mean, there was just general drop-off in players, and then, of course, there was the lawsuit.
Well, it's also like Sanctum. The thing is, like, during Sanctum, that's whenever a lot of people moved over to Final Fantasy. Like, I remember very clearly, because whenever I first started streaming Final Fantasy, Sanctum of Domination came out, and the Race to World First happened, and, like, it got, like, no views, nobody gave a shit about it, and I remember, like, the whole time, like, a lot of those people had it in sub mode, because everybody was talking about, like, oh, wow, you're playing Blizzard games? Are you a molester, too? And it was like, I was fucking out of pocket, but, like, just overall, like, that's the kind of mentality people had. Castle Nathria had 150, like, I'll tell you, in Castle Nathria, for the first day of the event, my stream alone had 150,000 people watching it. Like, the first day of Castle Nathria Mythic World First Race. Like, it was absolutely fucking huge.
It's just interesting that those numbers are so
Here's
much...
really what the truth is a lot of the people that make content about WoW, and they're just fucking boring. They're fucking boring. Nobody wants to watch them. That's why nobody watches them do anything else except for play WoW. Like, I'm just going to say it. Like, so as soon as the content isn't carrying, everybody leaves because nobody wants to watch it. So I made it entertaining and fun to watch. So you had the force multiplier of good content plus entertaining people, and it was better. You're wrong. SOD had the most views of any Race to World First before Sofo. So if you want to talk about, like, why did it have more views, potentially, I think it might have gone on longer. Think about that, right? It's you have a 7-day race versus an 8-day race. Obviously, the 8-day race is going to have more views. I bet, honestly, for numbers, the most recent one had more views than any of the other ones because it went on so long. That's all there is to it. Nathria was 8 days. Sanctum was 7. I wonder why. I wonder why Sanctum had more views, or sorry, Nathria had less views. Longer it goes, the more views drop because people lose interest. Yeah, but you still have more time overall. You're still adding to that total amount. Listening, you're taking Race World First, like watching Norway talk about Wait Wow, that's you. People want to invalidate my opinion. I'm not talking about rating in WoW or Race to World First. I'm not. You're right. I'm not. I'm just doing normal. Here's the difference. I'm talking about streaming on Twitch, and I'm a World First Raider in that. And you're in LFR. You are in LFR. I know exactly what I'm talking about. That's why my stream is very successful. That's why I've streamed WoW better than anybody had. That's why I get way more viewers than anybody else. It's because the other people that stream the game are fucking boring. That's the facts. That's why even whenever they go to play other games, everybody leaves because nobody wants to watch them. I'm trying not to be an asshole. Actually, I am being an asshole, but it's fucking true. No, Hollow, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just true.
Smaller for Shadowlands, even when you remove Zoval,
I am, and it's true.
who is, of course, the more complicated number, given the surrounding factors. So I guess that means that tiers, be this for good or for ill, are lasting longer. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing for Blizzard? Do players actually stick around
we'll get
for
the Lost Ark
months,
stuff after this.
or do they just not
Numbers
enjoy
don't
the
lie.
curve of progress and drop off?
That's the best thing about them.
On face value, Zoval heroic kills being
numbers.
an 84% decline over Sylvanas heroic kills in the same time frame, that is scary in face value. But again, there are good reasons as to why only 359 guilds had defeated heroic jailer in this time frame. He was available a week later. So if you compare Zoval week 4 to Sylvanas week 3, i.e. when they had been out for the same amount of time, you would have 1,195 guilds clearing Sylvanas and 359 clearing Zoval. So that still is a large decrease, and that kind of
So that's even after week 4, whenever both of them were available? Jesus Christ. Holy fucking shit, that's low. Oh my god. That's a bit skewed. JR doesn't have good loot, and so most guilds skip progressing it on normal and mythic. Yeah, I mean, that's 359 kills. I'm going to look at the Lost Ark thing as soon as I finish this, okay? We're going to play some games after this, too. Don't worry about it. Chill out.
But let's compare a bit to Mythic so we can actually understand this number. 302 guilds cleared Mythic Pantheon. 707 Mythic
Look at Lithium versus Halandris. Halandris down to 32.
Whatever.
Oh my god.
586 for Mythic Zymox. These Mythic kill counts are, in many cases around or higher than Heroic Zoval. Weird, but is this a one-off? Well, yes and no. In Sanctum, in this time frame, more guilds had cleared the first 3 Mythic bosses.
Wait a second. We're talking about 62 versus 2? Oh my fucking god. Wow. Holy fucking shit, that's insane.
And had killed Heroic Sylvanas. So this is not a new trend. The difference is that this time, 5 Mythic bosses have more kills than the end boss.
Sylvanas had way better loot. Bro, like, if you're raiding right now, if you're raiding Mythic, you're not raiding for the loot. I feel like if you've killed Halandris, you are trying to kill the jailer. I feel like that's true. Like, your goal is to beat the raid. Most of these high-end guilds, like, they don't really care as much about loot because they know they're going to get it all. Yeah, they're trying to finish it. The Domsock and pieces for Sylvanas necessary for Prague. Nothing on Heroic Jailer is worth it at all. I think that's a big problem. Yeah, I know that Sylvanas is legendary. No, Sylvanas definitely had more reasons to kill her. Like, you're definitely right.
3. Now, this somewhat makes sense, given a whole bunch of factors, so let's just summarize.
Yeah, I'm talking about
factors.
only Mythic.
Zoval does not drop tier. Heroic end bosses often feel like early Mythic bosses, but drop lower item level loot. Early Mythic kills give you a better chance at tier from the Great Vault at a high item level than just getting Zoval and Heroic. Also, Zoval wasn't really doable by many Heroic guilds within the first few weeks because they didn't have tier sets and they didn't have double legendaries, which for most people that fight is tuned around. Or, proportionately, they hadn't spent as many days raiding as those Mythic guilds who could be raiding, 3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week even if they're really pushing it. So can we learn much else from these numbers? Well, here's the first boss and last boss kills for the first 4 weeks of every raid since the Emerald Nightmare. The first boss difference is massive, from 4,941 in Sanctum to 1,404 in Sepulchre. Ouch.
Look at this, right? And look at BFA went down from 8.2 to 8.1. WoW actually went up from 9.0 to 9.1. And it went from going up that much to going down this much. It's like basically what happened with 8.2. That is fucking brutal, man. Holy shit. Like, Terragru was a first great boss. It was a great first boss, though. True. He was.
And the last boss kills are kind of hilarious.
Oh my God.
From 62 in Sanctum to a mere 2. Of course,
I love how everybody says, you know what I was talking about before, about how people are just like, they base their frame of reference around like top guilds and like really good players. Everyone was like, oh, Emerald Nightmare was so easy. It was so easy. Look, it's down there at the fucking bottom. There's still this big of a fucking difference. Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. So look at this. This is what the difference is. Oh my God. They didn't use garlic. Method. That's why they can't kill him.
So, numbers down. Game dead.
Dead really. Game?
Many Mythic guilds were waiting to get their players 2 and 4 sets before actually starting Mythic progression.
Well, they would have done that earlier if Blizzard hadn't arbitrarily held back the Crucible to make the tier gear, but they decided to do that. Just hold it back. Just don't release this feature. The Catalyst, the Catalyst, there it is, That's crazy. Like, why would they do that? Why would they do this? Why would they not just release it? Why would they? Bro, like, imagine this. Like, if people are going to quit your game because they get their tier set bonus, hold up, wait a minute. Maybe that's a problem with the game. And the solution to that is to not make it harder for them to get the tier set bonus. It's to try to retain them after they get the tier set bonus. Imagine that. Think more people quit because of not having it? Yeah. Well, of course they would. It's a fucking... like, Blizzard, how many times did Blizzard redo the personal loot system for tier gear? I think it was like 2 or 3 times, right? Like, I remember reading patch notes for 2 times, and then I'm just assuming there was a third. Yeah, so yeah, this is... I am just every patch. No, I mean, for just this patch, it's like, think about how much development time and wasted time was put into trying to throttle top 50 guilds. Think about how much effort was put into making the world first race take longer. Like, like, players should be fucking, like, I am just, how can players accept this? I'm just in shock. Like, how are people accepting this? And I guess, you know what the truth is? They're not. They're leaving. They're quitting. I'm Big
That
Maul.
led to a lot of these mythic guilds. And as an
Big
example,
Maul.
you know, the prime researcher of this, or the researcher of this video,
I'm getting more mad.
is a mythic cutting edge raider.
Just
right?
by
So that
watching
involves
this, by talking
clearing
about it,
mythic,
I'm mad.
You know, within the tier. So he's in a guild practicing all of this. And for these guilds, what they were doing is they were clearing LFR, they were clearing normal, and they were clearing heroic. And they were doing lots of Mythic Plus to maximally fill their vault with as many, you know, high item level slots as possible in order to get some tier. I mean, hell, like 1 or 2 of my tier pieces come from Mythic Plus Great Vault. I think it's 1. Anyway, it's still important.
I can't believe
Some
this,
people
bro.
even had it into PvP. So for a lot of these guilds, because they're not pushing for world firsts or anything crazy like that, they're going to invest their time into the things that will get their players 2-piece and 4-piece before they invest time.
It's not even that. Blizzard has trained players that waiting is content. And why would you beat your head against Mythic Halandris if you just know Blizzard's going to nerf it? Like, Blizzard's just going to nerf the fights like 15 times. And so, like, why would you go in and spend 400 pulls on this boss if all you have to do is wait 2 weeks and they're going to make it half as easy, or like twice as easy? It's just such a, it's like just such, it's so fucking stupid. Like it's so fucking stupid. Like, I can't believe this. Like, why is this happening?
And actually trying to clear a mythic.
I'm actually
because
getting
for most,
mad.
mythic is tuned to be doable with double legendaries and tier. And that just is going to reduce participation within the early weeks.
Yeah.
So, when will these numbers go up? What are the things to watch out for?
They'll go up next
I think
expansion.
The first one is obviously the creation catalyst. That's going to help the unlucky people get their 2-piece, and the decently lucky, like myself, to get our 4-pieces. That unlocks April 12th, a full 8 weeks in, and I think many people do consider that to be quite late. So what's my takeaway from this?
It should have been in on release. It should have just been in on release. If the raid is tuned for the tier sets, then why do you release the raid without the thing that gives you the tier sets? Oh, well, that way people can distinguish themselves for working harder. No, it stopped trying to fucking, like, it's, oh my god, bro, I'm just like, oh my god, bro, I'm actually getting mad. Like, I hate getting mad on stream, but I'm literally getting mad. I'm actually getting mad at the game. And you want to know what's so bad about this? Is that the more I think about it, the more it makes me want to play the game and get back into the game. And it's like, what kind of fucking, like, weird psychological bullshit is going on in my head that I'm just thinking about how bad this game is and I want to log on and play? Like, I need to, like, this is just fucking... It's like cock and ball torture. Like, I don't even understand this. Like, why is this happening? Like, it's a masochism. Like, I don't understand.
from looking at this raid data? Well, I think numbers are probably a bit down overall. That is to be expected. And personally, I think that's a mix of the various different reasons we've laid out thus far. And I think very likely a decent enough chunk of players dropping off.
You would never do this.
This patch was announced with some mild ridicule, many people seeing it as further proof that the team had jumped shark, and there was a few PTR dramas over, player power and reputation. I'm sure those things didn't help. But I do say that as being somebody who, for what it is, has actually enjoyed the patch quite a bit. Okay, so I promised you week 3 comparisons. Essentially with the idea of Anduin being the end boss, and then sort of comparing him to the other tiers. After all, Blizzard themselves said that Anduin, in any other circumstance, could actually be an end boss. So let's check it out.
Okay, week 3 statistics.
For this analysis, we have taken all past tiers to the first 3 week end boss kills, taking into account, of course, how the last 3 bosses of 9.2 were not available immediately.
Okay.
So less time, but you could say potentially a sort of fair comparison. Anduin drops tier, which certainly will have motivated people to kill him. Okay, so normal mode first, starting with Zoval's first week. Right. Denathrius, 19,021 kills. Sylvanas, 9,477. Zoval, 3,277.
See, look right here. Look at this is what's so crazy. Is it like Gold Kill Jaden had more boss kills than Gul'dan? Argus had as many boss kills as Kill Jaden. And look at Denathrius. See, Blizzard had it. And you want to know why Denathrius was so fucking high? Is because he was fucking awesome. The raid was awesome. The character was awesome. People wanted to beat the raid to find out what the fuck happened. And it's puggable too. Yeah, it's still very low. I don't think that's very low. For the almost 20,000 kills in the first 3 weeks of the release, I think that's pretty good. Like, I do. I think that's pretty good. Like, and then it went down to 9. That's less than half. Like, yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's just right barely under half. That's nuts, man. Are they unique kills? It's hard to say. He also dropped weapon token, which helped. Yeah, he did. That's nuts, man. Like, I am just the jailer. 3,000 kills. Comparing that to N'Zoth, 4,000.
65% drop. So, are less people playing? Was it too hard? Was the loot worth it? Well, let's add Anduin into this mix.
Okay.
8,851 guilds defeated Anduin. That's only a 6% decrease on the number, the 9,400.
I would say that's decent.
47 that defeated Sylvanas and Sanctum. But of course, it is still a large enough decrease from Sire, who was defeated by that 19,000 odd guilds.
Bro, like Shadowlands had so much hype, but like, Shadowlands is really good on release. I know it sounds crazy. Like, I actually think it was good on release. Like, especially like PvP and shit. Like, I had so much fun. I had so much fucking fun playing Shadowlands on release. Like, I got all the gear and like it was great. It's like I wish that honestly, like, I feel like WoW, if we had 4 raid tiers instead of 3, I think most people would have been pretty much okay with Shadowlands. It would have been just like a B expansion.
Actually looks to be more in line with what I would expect. I mean, dare I say, it even looks pretty healthy. I mean, let's compare this tier-to-tier drop-off for BFA. It had 17,854 defeating Gahun. That decreases 45.7% for Jaina, with only 9,692 defeating her. Shar dropped off a further 14.55%, and Pearl N'Zoth from that baseline dropped a larger 50.93%.
But like, N'Zoth, you needed a special item to do N'Zoth. Like, that's straight up. Like, there were a lot of people that didn't do N'Zoth because they didn't have the cloak. As dumb as that sounds, we're talking about WoW players, so you know I'm right. Like, that's the big reason.
Percent. That's a normal, but before I turn on analysis mode, let's have a think about heroic mode.
Okay, let's see it.
It's another alarming statistic on the face of it. Zoval is down 69.96% from Sylvanas. But before signing the death certificate, let's remember again that the later bosses are tuned for 2-4 set and double Legos, and likely sort of fewer guilds will come back in general. there are less incentives to kill Zoval because he doesn't drop tier. But the number is still interesting because this is covering 3 weeks of...
Look at Argus, bro. Almost 5,000 people more killed Argus on Heroic. That's awesome. Like, Argus was fun. Argus was a joke, though. To who? You, who played the game 10 years? It should be. But imagine if it wasn't a joke to you. You're not the audience. Like, oh, wow, I played the game. Fuck, I put 5,000 hours into the game. It's not hard for me. Like, oh, wow. I guess that means it's bad. It's not about difficulty. Something being fucking good or bad is not how difficult it is. Like, Kill Jaden, I thought was a cool fight in a lot of ways, but, you know, it probably was too hard. 5,000 ID, not 5,000 people. Yes, 5,000 IDs. Yeah, keep this in mind. This is 5,000 or 4.7 thousand times 10 to 30.
Val availability versus 3 weeks of
nuts.
Prior end boss availability. Bringing Anduin into the picture, things once again make more sense though because he had 2,567 kills, which is up 115% from Sylvanas' 1,195 kills.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
This increase is a lot larger than the minus 6.31% decrease that we saw between Sylvanas normal and Anduin normal.
God damn.
Kind of impressive. Well, remember, Blizzard did sort of try to nuke Anduin a bit with nerfs in the first week or two. But still,
of course.
Anduin should be an easier boss than Sylvanas. He was not tuned as an end boss, even if his mechanics would have supported him being an end boss. He is boss 9 of this raid, unlike Sylvanas, who is boss 10 of her raid, and the same goes for Denathrius.
Makes
sense. Overall, it's an interesting data set. I think we shouldn't go apples to apples, Anduin versus Sylvanas. We definitely shouldn't do that.
I don't think so either.
Anduin should be higher than Sylvanas because he is a very slightly an earlier boss, and some nerfs and stuff. But this does point to the overall raid population not like calamitously falling off or anything like that. Okay, let's take a quick look at Mythic Plus and PvP then. M Plus is honestly a bit tricky because of our data sources.
Okay.
Week 1 and 2, data from Best Keystone just doesn't seem to be there. And the Week 3 and 4 data is actually different to what Raider.io has reported. Now, if we were to assume that this is because of a difference in methodology, and that methodology has been consistent, then we could compare the best Keystone numbers for Week 3 and 4 to prior seasons. And doing so is interesting enough, where Season 3, Week 3 had 518,000 runs, while Season 2, Week 3 had 635,000, and
Why did Shadowlands retain so many people? Holy shit. Look at that. How did it retain so many people? There's nothing else to do? That's just Season 1? No, that's what I mean. Shadowlands Season 1. Yeah, because you think, like... But, like, the drop-off was, like, really non-existent. Like, that's really fucking good. Like, look at that. That's a generally positive graph compared to these or that one. Prideful seasonal affix? Maybe, you're right.
Season 1, Week 3
Dungeons
had
were new?
775,000
That's
runs.
a good factor,
so
too.
an overall downtrend, but not a humongously calamitous one. The Week 4 trend is similar. 503k runs for Season 3, 606k runs for Season 2, and 533k for Season 1. Season 1's a bit weird. It got off to a low start, but its numbers eventually went pretty.
So, like, BFA Season 4 started with almost 1 million runs, but Shadowlands Season 3, the one that we're currently on, is only a little bit over 500k. So that means like half as many people are playing now as compared to the way... Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. Like, that's so bad. Holy
Overall,
shit.
It very much seems like the rate of Shadowlands losses
I don't even know what to
has
say.
decreased. When you look at these M Plus numbers, assuming it's the same methodology and the data's not corrupted, which I think could kind of line up with what that normal and heroic Anduin number that I just covered told us. I think it does make sense. 9.2 is a better patch than 9.1 in almost every way, and the end game certainly feels better than it did in Season 1 or Season 2.
Yeah.
I think 9.2 probably felt novel enough, and it had enough positive changes to help to stem the tide. And while not a patch 5.2 style reversal in fortunes with...
I think a lot of it also is like people playing other games. Because back in BFA, you didn't have a lot of people that had moved over to Final Fantasy at that point. Lost Ark wasn't out yet. And if you go, let's go for our daily validation, Lost Ark is still hitting 300 and almost 400,000 player peaks on weekdays. Like, there's a lot of people that keep playing the game. Like, they're still playing it.
Player counts overall going up, I think.
How many are bots?
We can maybe see the 9.2 has clearly retained players.
There's 68 actually.
Better.
68
I'm not going to say
total.
great, but better. And I think that does show us that World of Warcraft needs generally more accessibility stuff in the end game.
Yeah.
And it needs novel, new content that's not brown-gray sludge.
Real
Zereth
true.
Mortis is that. Sepulchre is a great raid. Of course, yes, in spite of some qualms over raid loot and tier accessibility. If you look at the PvP numbers, it's kind of simple enough, really.
Yeah.
There's not been a large increase, but there's also not been a large decrease. So let's try to wrap this up.
I feel like PvP is why I that's what I care about in WoW right now. It's just PvP. I don't care about raiding anymore. I feel like PvP is the only thing that I still find to be like kind of fun. Where's Tukey? Okay.
Well, we've learned quite a lot here, mostly about raid tuning, structure, pacing, and loot systems, and basically how those interact to change numbers.
Depressing.
9.2 just had a different format to 9.1 and 9.0, and that makes comparisons hard. Now, numbers do seem like they may be down extremely in a few of these comparisons.
Yeah.
But I think that can significantly be explained by all the things we've talked about in today's video, and those normal and heroic mode Anduin numbers are certainly rather interesting. I think the question really is that with lower initial kill counts, will we instead see players progress over a longer period of time, leading to pretty good retention for this patch? Well, that is something that we want to test in the future, and it's why we've...
I actually don't think that longer progress cycles are going to keep retention high, because a lot of people would just prog on alts too. Like, that's what a lot of people that like the game a lot, that's what they do. It's not like, well, if they are playing the game for 100 hours, we go and we take it and we make it take 200 hours, get twice as much playtime. That doesn't work that way. Because somebody who's going to play the game for 100 hours is going to play the game for 100 hours. Yeah, it's a little bit elastic, sure. However, there are a lot of people who are going to play for 100 hours, beat the progression curve, and then they're going to make an alt and want to do the same thing. That's what I used to do. I remember whenever I was really serious about the game, I was rating ICC on 5 characters. I was doing TOC on 8 characters. I was doing Dragon Soul on 4 characters or 5. I was doing it all the time. I was playing this game all the time. And so you have to make, like, in my opinion, it's like the alts are what really continues people's prog. Where I prog on my 6 alt warriors? Yeah, exactly, Cody. Yeah, you're totally fucking right. And that's the good thing, is that, like, make it easier. This is the only thing. Like, Blizzard, you can add in, I don't care what fucking social justice bullshit you want to put in the next expansion, what political messaging you want to put in, what aspect power, go on ahead. Just fucking make it account-wide. Just make it account-wide. Just do that, and I will be happy, and I will complain about other stuff instead. I can move on.
Done this video now because we're kind of, placing a stake in it, highlighting the interesting situation with these numbers, and we can in the future compare back to this. Which does mean that some things are just hard to say at this stage. I mean, look, patch 9.1, I think anecdotally we can at least all agree that it was significantly more frustrating than 9.2. So I think there's no wonder that people will have left at a pretty rapid rate in 9.1.
True.
Plus, obviously, the Blizzard controversy, which, I mean, at least for my guild, we just didn't feel like playing the game around that time, and I know it's the same for many other guilds. I think then what 9.2 represents is...
I feel like people have kind of like moved past that now. It's the same thing with the Hong Kong thing. You have like, the Hong Kong thing happens and people are like, I'm uninstalling Blizzard. And then the Overwatch 2 trailer comes out and they're like, what? Oh my God, Overwatch 2? And that was it,
Is an imperfect patch that appears to be an earnest attempt to do better, even though it does have some stumbles. Zereth Mortis, while I think a little bit tired in its macro design, it is an excellent zone, especially compared to Korthia, which was pretty much horrible.
Dog.
Sepulchre is a great raid. In my guild, we've all enjoyed it a lot more
Mortis,
than
I think, is
Sanctum,
okay.
and I've heard similar sentiment in other places. Picking up the game again was far easier this time. I mean, I swapped from Hunter to Mage just before this patch, and between this patch's things, with the rapid renown catch-up through doing the new campaign, and the previous things from 9.1.5, just getting in and playing the game was way more accessible. Now, if I wanted to change away from the Kyrian Covenant on my Frost Mage, which I know I should prefer to, for performance, I would be very frustrated at how the Covenant system still works. But I suppose that means that for somebody who's deciding to play the game casually right now because I just don't want to get deep into it, maybe it shows that these systems, the changes have been pretty good. I mean, they've certainly meant that I can play the game. Because with the way that it was, there's no way I'd be playing the game. I haven't really been enjoying Hunter that much, and if I wasn't convinced...
That's the thing, is I feel like this is the first time I've seen Bellular actually making a video about WoW with, like, showing gameplay. I feel like for the longest time, he was just, like, talking about the game because he wasn't really playing it.
That I could get a fresh mage up to speed in a reasonable amount of time, I simply would not have came back. So a lot of those changes are directly responsible for me playing the game right now. I'm sure they are for plenty of you as well. I mean, as an example, Matt was getting super tired on Holy Paladin. He was able to go, I think, Shaman and then Druid. All in decent enough time, actually, because of this patch. It didn't feel super horrible. I mean, there's a few things that felt bad, but, it wasn't like a big, calamitous, horrible grindfest like it could have been in the past. But I think for many players, the damage is done. And it will be the job of 10.0 to convince them that
this is always what happens with WoW. Is that WoW has an expansion come out, and people come back for the expansion, and then they leave. This is the way the game has worked for the last 10 years. A lot of people are going to come back. I know there's people, I'm not coming back. That's not true. It's not going to be me. I'm not doing it. No. No, people are they're gonna come back and play the new expansion. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. It happens every time. Like, it's just what's gonna happen. And whenever that does, they will wait for the next thing to come out, and then they'll leave. That's always how it goes.
I cannot blame anyone for leaving, not at all. I mean, we all just stopped playing WoW mid-heroic progression and essentially did not touch the game until March the following year.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It was my whole guild. We were all gone and not playing the game. I'm sure it was like that for many of your guilds as well. So, there you go. My guild died. That's the word in 9.2. I think it's done a pretty decent job.
I'm sad about...
Ultimately...
My guild died because we're on Alliance, and, like, nobody wants to play Alliance. Like, it's like my guild has been a raiding guild ever since Burning Crusade. Think about that. Ever since Burning Crusade. And this is the first time that we're not raiding seriously since then. It's actually sad. Like, no, it really is. Like, it's not dead. No, but, like, you're right. Like, my guild is not dead in terms of, like, we have, like, probably 40 people online right now in my guild. But, like, the raiding part of my guild is dead. Like, my raiding team died. It sucks. What exactly happened to Alliance? Players don't want to deal with the faction divide anymore, so they're all transferring to Horde. That's what happened.
Just going to have to check in, because this is a raid tier that is spread out over a longer period of time, and the creation catalyst is coming in strangely late.
Yeah.
I'm sure many people will be playing another game, FF14, on April 12th, instead of being excited for the creation catalyst, which is a bit of an L for Blizzard. But, hey, it is what it is. We'll just have to see the numbers whenever player data actually creates them. Of course, then get yourself a kick-ass web presence, save yourself a whole bunch of time, stress, and hassle, and help us out. You can go to squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming. A big thanks to them for sponsoring today's video, and I believe actually sponsoring this entire series of WoW health checkups, which
I love the graphs.
Awesome of them.
I love them. They're my favorite.
Below. Thank you very much for watching today's video, and with that, I'll see you next time.
I love graphs so much. I like looking at the graphs and then talking about them and then extrapolating the data. I love graphs. They're so good. They're my favorite. And yeah, let's look right now. We're going to look right now, see a few of these comments here. Like to read Shadowlands collective agreement seems to be a WoW really needs to start coming back to basics after all this. Yeah, true. I think everybody thinks that. Absolutely. My guild just didn't do Jailer and went straight to Mythic. No one is killing Zoval. Yes, of course, because there's no reason to. That's why they would kill Zoval if they got something out of it, and they're not getting anything out of it, so they're not killing him. I think that makes perfect fucking sense. And so just in general, I hope that they can figure out like how to actually just make the game, like make it simple, make it easy to play, and remove these like arbitrary barriers to entry. Like arbitrary barriers to entry is just like, I'm so fucking tired of that. I'm so annoyed by it. I'm just like, it's crazy how fucking annoyed by that I am. Yeah, it's nuts.